Hello, welcome to sound check. Check, check, check. All right. I'm going meditation mode for a minute. All righty, all righty, all righty. Um, well, right off the bat, you were born at exactly a new moon or a full moon, excuse me. So, and we have the same sun and moon, or your moon is exactly my sun, 28 Pisces. Very cool stuff. So you got 28 Pisces moon, 28 Virgo sun. Um, it's the 6th and 12th house. Libra rising, so everything gets mismatched. Scorpio Venus. And I see the double squares because your sun and your moon are in that position where they're 180 degrees away. So anything squaring 90 degrees away from one will be 90 degrees away from the other. And that is the case with Chiron over here and Saturn. And let me see something. All right, I see one T square. Venus, Jupiter, Neptune shoots out in Taurus. Well, what can one say about all of it? What can one say about it all? Having a drink. All right. Okay. So, first of all, karmic perspective. North Node is in Gemini in the ninth house. So no, it's not quite. Um, so when you have a Libra rising, it's a very, very distinct rising. Because the first house in everyone's chart, first house equals Aries. Not exactly, but think of it like the first house is the area of life experience that encompasses and parallels Aries. Second house Taurus, third house Gemini, fourth house Cancer, etc. until you get to 12 Pisces. So Libra is the seventh sign, and there's 12 signs, meaning that it's the opposite sign of the first sign, Aries, meaning that when you're Libra Aries, every single house for you in your chart falls in an opposite house. So Scorpio, your second house, which is normally the eighth house, is your second house. You see? So it creates a very interesting polarity, where the individual tends to really see like kind of both sides, but like the polarity. So it's always interesting, isn't it? Always interesting. Um, but I think I want to take a backtrack. So you're Libra, yeah, 21 degrees Libra rising. So you're close to speak of, but not quite there. Um, so let's talk Pisces Virgo, right? Because it's obviously very advanced. I'm not just saying that to suck up. Um, when you have that is your big two. First of all, I just want to say how rare I see that. And I don't even need to know shit about you. I actually do remember having a conversation with you. Um, yeah, we definitely talked. 100% talked. I remember, which is rare. I usually don't remember anything. But um, me and you, if we were friends slash, like let's say like we grew up together, went to the same high school, like we would 1000% be friends because you're like one of the best things you can have is someone's sun equal the other person's moon exact degree. So that's why you're drawn to me. But I just want to talk about Virgo, because Virgo is super special. Um, Virgo is a sign that, sometimes it gets some shit and it's very, very, very misunderstood. I think that low vibe Virgo can be a little bit, not good. But when it comes to high vibe Virgo, that is very good. Um, Low vibe Virgo can be overly worrying. It can be, yeah, it can be, you always have like that kind of Virgo stereotype. Oh my God, I'm worrying, holy fuck. That kind of idea of like a mother, or I don't know. My mom, I'm not trying to talk shit about my mom. She's a Virgo. She's amazing. But she still definitely has them Virgo vibe about some stuff. But then Virgo is just so very hard to understand because it's like, how some people just don't make any fucking sense? Like you're just like, how the fuck does this person make any, like how? Like your main question isn't even like a question. It's just like how, right? I feel like with Virgo, like people, like they kind of get it, but then sometimes they can still be a little bit wonkers. But like the biggest thing with Virgo is understanding that, well, there's a few things. There's the whole perfectionism piece. which is very, very important. Virgos can be very perfectionist, and they can have a lot of self-criticism towards themselves. So those are common. However, I believe that if you actually ask me like who do I trust the most in a room, number of signs presented, Virgo is one of them. I'm always going to consider Virgo because of the reliability. Now, on a more esoteric level, the energy of Virgo is about purity, and it's about, wait, hold up. Yeah, it must have been like 15 minutes late on my clock, but whatever. But yeah, like the energy of Virgo, it's very much about earth magic, and it can be very misunderstood, and it could really be the most spiritual sign. Like it can be as spiritual as Pisces if it's able to get over its own, I guess, weaknesses. Its own inner self-criticism, which is way easier said than done. So yeah, that's kind of the deal for the Virgs. Now, that axis of Pisces and Virgo is very interesting. And basically, that is the most spiritual axis, right? There's six axes in astrology. They represent the 12 or the six pairs of two signs, right? So Pisces, Virgo, that one, and when you have an exact axis in your sun and moon, you know that is a big karmic, there's a major karmic importance you understand and to go to the highest energy of that. So let me talk about that. So it isn't for you to think about, whether you're a Pisces or whether you're a Virgo. It doesn't fucking matter. What matters is for you to think about, how do I maneuver my life in order to be able to track where I'm at on the scale of high, medium, low Pisces Virgo axis. So what does Pisces Virgo axis mean? Well, basically, there's different things that both of those do like correctly. And as you know, Pisces is the last sign. So this is the last axis, right? So there's different things that they each do correctly. And why is it only, oh yeah. So there's different things that they do correctly. So for Pisces, a lot of it is around their ability to dream, right? Pisces have this amazing ability to just dream and to just let flow. So Virgo, but at the same time, what can happen with Pisces, right, is even though they're like so good at just like kind of skipping the details and just thinking, like dreaming big, and sometimes it's to the point to where it's like, all right, this is a little too much, bro. But the Virgo gives a lot of realism, you know? Now, to know if you're balanced on this axis, right? Being too far on the Pisces side, as I said, would be someone, for example, who has all these amazing creative ideas. Oh, I'm gonna write this movie, this screenplay. It's gonna be so good. Oh my God, I'm gonna start this spiritual Instagram, and I'm gonna like just become the biggest musician in the world. It's not gonna be any problems. And then they run into their first, real world type shit, and they give up. On the other hand, Virgo, they are the ones who are actually quite good when it comes to being realistic. However, sometimes they are overly realistic to where it's a bad thing. Example, same scenario. Let's say they're the pure like the every planet in Virgo person is with the every planet in Pisces in Pisces person. I'm gonna call them Pisces and Virgo. Pisces. Oh my God, I'm gonna be the best. I'm so excited to start this. It's such good vibes. Like there's nothing that can stop me. Virgo, in parentheses, because Virgo is about perfectionism, and because a lot of Virgos haven't come to terms with their level of because a lot of Virgos haven't they're too stuck in their perfectionism a lot of times, right? And they're very, very, very they're very hard on themselves, and until they learn to sort of chill out and to sort of like have self-compassion and all that, it's very, very hard for them. So the Virgo kind of, like, oh, are you sure you know how to do that, Pisces? Like, you're talking a big talk, but are you really, really sure that you can figure that out? Like, it takes a lot of little different details to arrive there. So, um, Pisces says, oh, like what? You're so boring, You're so boring, Virgo. You're always killing my vibe, right? Let a kid dream a little bit. And then Virgo is like, well, I mean, I'm just being real. I'm just being honest. So you see how just I could go on, for a while with that one, but how just in that, Virgo has to get past. There's different things that each have to get past. Pisces has to get past the fact that they are just, sometimes too big of dreamers, right? And or not too big of dreamers, because being a dreamer is a great thing, right? But that they're not realistic. They don't think about all the little things that goes into getting to where they want to get. They have the lofty ideals, but they give up early. So to take from both of them for you, it would involve allowing yourself to dream. Hashtag Pisces. But then not allowing yourself to fall down. So I hope that makes sense. And self-compassion is so important. Virgos who are high vibe versus Virgos who are low vibe, it literally comes down to that. It literally comes down to Esme. Are you? Don't you dare. Yeah, like the highest by Virgos I've ever met um are people. And by the way, my best friend Trey, he's born 2 days before you or after you, excuse me. But basically one day. And he's because he's 29 degrees, nearly 0 degrees Libra, but he's like the very end of Virgo. So, that 28-degree mark is a really strong energy. It's a very, very, very like wisdom, like mystical master type vibe. So the way that you can work with that, especially since it's in the 12th house, clearly your life is about service to humanity. Big time. Um, that's very, very obvious to me. So getting yourself in positions to be able to come through in that way is massive. Um, it's not easy, but it's very, very important. So with the moon in Pisces, so back to that balance of Virgo and Pisces, there is a big time need to dream, to be able to dream. But this is why it's like such a cool why it's such a cool kind of I guess it just works nicely together, right? Because on one end there's the part of you that is innately responsible, that understands that to get to where you want to get, that you have to you have to be realistic, right? But then, like, unlike like Virgos, right, who lack a lot of times that creativity, not always, but what happens is that Virgos are prone to perfectionism more than any other energy. Um, and there's nothing that gets in the way of one accomplishing their dreams, especially when their dreams are like Piscean and Neptunian and out of this world, right? And just completely like different than what mainstream life gives us, right? Um, it's really these people. It's really them Pisces that have that Virgo in structure, and where the two really, really work together. The Virgo works very hard and understands, like, all right, like I know that in order to get to my goal, I have to be straight up. I have to understand that I just can't have magical thinking, because that's a very Pisces thing, to have magical thinking, like, oh yeah, it's just gonna work out. But it has to really, really look. It pushes you to really look inwards towards any ways that you are, um, overly demanding on yourself, and just you know hard on yourself in general, right? No, no, no other way to say it. So yeah, 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 yeah. So yeah, being able to have those two, I think that's really the answer. Yeah, definitely. Hmm. me see something real quick. So Pisces is cosmic magic. Virgo is earth magic. When I see someone who has those two as their sun and moon, I'm like, this is a magician. Or someone who has that potential to be a magician. Which is dope. Very, very dope. Sometimes you need to just like just meditate. Got these crystals. Crystal. Alright, can I project this on my iPhone? Actually, no, I can put it right here. That'd be better. My fucking charger doesn't reach. That is annoying. Unless I switch to. I'm gonna do that. Yeah, so we'll get more to that. I'll always slide in different takes on that. But the fact that they're in, each other's house, the 12th house is the Pisces house. You got Virgo in there. Your Virgo's in there, and then the fact that you've got your Pisces in the 6th house. It's just kind of like, not backwards energy. It's just kind of, it's just kind of like, it's really, really karmically, it's pushing you to understand that you have to have that Pisces Virgo balance. Like, how could someone, like, there's so many people who have that dream. Oh my God, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, blah, 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 and they don't do shit. First hard thing that comes up, they give up. And then there's so many Virgos who allow, the worry, which I say in so many readings, I'm getting kind of bored saying this, but every single human day, there is multiple reasons to get anxious, to have worry, to be pessimistic, blah, blah, blah. And one thing Virgos do, they self-destruct in the sense that, they are their worst enemies. They can be, go back on camera. A Virgo can be up here and think that they're down here, and then everyone else can be down here, and the Virgo thinks everyone else is up here. That's a metaphor, not to like, create a hierarchy or anything, but that's kind of how some Virgos think. So it's like getting out of your way, like still making your dreams, like, a reality, but understanding that like your level of self-criticism, perfectionism, has the potential to get in the way of it. And learning self-compassion is the biggest thing for Virgo energy. And looking at your introjects looking at your, internal thoughts, your self-limiting beliefs, blah 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 blah. What's up, Mika? That's a game changer. Not right now, Mika. So the fact that the sun and the moon, I'm gonna go back. I feel like meditating. So the fact that there's the square and there's a T square also, but there's a wait, hold on. That looks like a Star of David, but it is not based on the planets I use. Wait, Zoop? Yeah, because it's node 15. Hmm. Well, anyways, so yeah, you see that Saturn, as I said earlier, Saturn, the main aspects, and also like having sun opposite moon a lot, not all the time, but a lot of time there's like some kind of divorce, something early on, but like I've seen it enough times to where it didn't, um, it didn't kind of go that direction. So, but a lot like people who have like I have some square moon, people who have this type of thing, like they tend to be very, very driven, but usually they have different energy, like main life themes that are coming from parent A and parent B, right? So it's not always easy. Um, and because it is a full moon, you can just imagine that it would be difficult, right? Um, just like a full moon is difficult in, every month when we have our full moon, it's difficult, right? So it's the same thing like that. So the square with sun and moon and Saturn and in Chiron. Boop, 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 boop. So Hmm. Interesting. Well, I guess what I can say is like, wow, oh shit, I forgot you were born in 2002. See, that is like, I swear, like that Virgo energy, a spiritual male, Virgo, Pisces moon. If I had to bet my life that you were an advanced soul, I would bet it. Getting a reading from me, astrologer that does not hold back from, I'm not telling people, oh, you're a special star seed. No, fuck that. And we have a resonance though, because of my son is 28 Pisces. Um, but still, that's really, really, really interesting. You could be an astrologer, we'll see what the asteroids say. But man, so the Saturn squares, right? The Saturn squares and the Chiron squares. So basically, I guess we can start with the Chiron. Um, the Chiron when it squares Sun, it's speaking to some issues with the father and just overall just pain, like pain in respect to um kind of like the forming of the identity, right? Mika, stop, please. You can sit next to me. So also a more positive way to look at that is that through that you're able to, when you have your sun and your moon square Chiron, it's literally saying that you will go through difficult times. Karma, life, whatever will push you into, where there is much healing. And that also shows with that, when you have your sun and your moon opposite, there's like this feeling of like feeling like you have to feed both mouths, right? This way more structured Virgo part and this more and more mutable go with the flow, chameleon, very, very, very sensitive Pisces part. So, another thing about Pisces moons, while I'm at it, is that they can take on so much of the energy around them. So it can be really, really difficult as a Pisces moon in today's world. Um, that's just a fact. And being able to emit your emotions is massive, massive, massive. Um, a lot of men today struggle with being able to, and I'm not saying like, you know, be like a crybaby all the time. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But just being, it's important to to be able to go there when you need to, I guess I'm saying. But yeah, but like what can be difficult is with the Chiron, that's just like speaking the Chiron squares the sun and moon. That's just speaking to usually feeling misunderstood by family or just like in your upbringing on both sides of your personality, the feminine and masculine, which it leads to you becoming a good healer. Um, but once again, Not always easy. Not always easy, easy, easy. So, you kind of gotta like, Aikido that. You kind of gotta figure out ways to, I guess, figure out ways to, how do I say this? To heal yourself. Figure out ways to heal yourself. And when you do, which is part of your karma, right? You're able to, really, really put people at ease. When Chiron is like that with your sun, your moon, you are a natural healer, but you have to go through this shit. So with Saturn square sun, Saturn square moon, you have the Grand Cross aspect pattern. Well, basically, what's okay? See, um, so you see, Saturn is exactly 28, right? So we can make the case that it's a grand trine or a T square because this one's in a different sign and 5 degrees off. These three are exact 28, 28, 90 degrees, 28, 90 degrees. And it shoots out at 28 Sag, which is where your south node is with your Pluto, which is very interesting. That's like some powerful past life swagger. Um, but okay, Saturn and Moon. That Saturn square Moon is very, very tough. Why is it tough, Jesse? Well, let me tell you this. Um, when you have that, Saturn, the moon, it represents our emotions. Obviously, as a Pisces moon, you're very sensitive and you like to just kind of go with the flow, um, and just live your life like shit, just live your life. So it becomes problematic when you have this aspect because on the theme of feeling misunderstood, um, perhaps more spiritually advanced than your family of origin, perhaps, and perhaps having ideas, um, that in your soul you come in this lifetime with this major power, um, perhaps even feeling like you know things just kind of have always clicked for you, which would make sense, you being one of my youngest clients. Um, and you look around the world around you, and you're like, why the fuck do these other people just not understand? Like, what's wrong with these people? So that can be really frustrating. But when Saturn is square Moon, it it makes it really hard to let the emotions out, I guess you could say. Yeah, letting the emotions out. And hmm, when you combine Saturn with Moon, it is melancholy. And there's a lot of issues with, allowing them out, allowing the free flowing emotion out. And it can give a very overly serious, um, controlled, kind of very private way of being. And, at the end of the day, we all want to be able to express our emotions in a kind of go with the flow, very cool, like this is just the way it is kind of way, right? So that becomes quite difficult with this. I think a lot of people I've seen with this, they've had like, grew up like either socially awkward, but like, usually there's like isolation and just not feeling like they belong. So it's kind of like this battle to over time feel like, yeah, like they can truly belong. Oh, excuse me. Um, hmm, hmm, hmm. So when you grew up, like the more conflicted, unhappy you felt, um, the less support you got. Like if you did not feel seen by your parents, if you did not feel understood, the chances increase of a lot of difficulty moving forward. So, and it's very yeah, it's just so common for people to, at this level to isolate, It's very, very common to isolate and feel, and just feel like lots of issues with reaching out, lots of issues with with feeling at ease emotionally. And in some cases people with this, because of the isolation that can bring, from different friendships, from romance, um just human contact in general, it can just lead to like, yeah, like isolation and a difficult you know development, right? And it can also cause emotional immaturity. um so it goes back to your Virgo energy, right? Because the Virgo sometimes can be very, very hard on themselves. So that's something that's really important, is if that is something that's internalized with you, that's not going to be easy. No, 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 no. What else about that one? Yeah, usually I would say with this is that it's just like usually it's just like a challenging childhood where the person wasn't able to truly feel like they could, really, 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 um I guess get their point across, and really feel like they were understood. That's how I would, I would say it. That's how I'd put it. Hmm. I think with Saturn, like even this transit, it's like a lot of celebrities will have this, because Saturn gets better with age, you know? It gets better with age. So when we talk about Sun square Saturn, so over here, exact. Saturn's in the same house as North Node. You know, you also have Mars in Virgo, which we'll get into in a little bit. But with the Mars, with the Sun square Saturn, you know, what that does, especially for the first 30 years, is that it just creates a ton of tests, a ton of tests um, that are not always easy. So, yeah, it's like you're moving forward a little bit and the universe pulls you back. That kind of energy, which is unfortunate. Unfortunate. And I mean, I think that the fact that you've come to me for this, for this reading such a young age, to me it shows a level of maturity, even though I don't know you like that. Like, and that's what Saturn will do. It's like it'll grill you early and make you grow up very quickly, and it gets better with age, and a lot of times it can make your father figure quite strict, which can, for Virgo, lead to them those voices in your head of self-criticism. So that is one thing that has to be watched out for, of course, but nothing that can't be overcome. But so many famous people have like this type of aspect. One common thing, where's your Chiron? Let's see, Capricorn. Yeah. So one common thing I see with that a good amount is people who just have to take on like an extra responsibility early on, or their parents are like with the Saturn squares, their parents are hard on them, and so forth. All right, so I said I was going to talk about well, the ruling planet of your chart is your Venus, which is square Neptune, which is very, very important. You got really nice aspects to your Mercury. Your Mars is square Pluto. um so basically, I want to go my own direction. Um, I'll come back to all that stuff. So karmically, you've got South Node, which is like the been there, done that in past lives. With in Sagittarius in the third house with Pluto. So the vibe I get from that is, there's a certain karma of being this like very, very, very dynamic communicator, philosopher, um, someone who just like went in, has a tendency to go and get what they need when it comes to that world, right? So when people like that come into like people who have a past life tendency of having acquired lots of wisdom, when they reincarnate in this world, they can, they can really feel kind of out of place. Especially if they grow up with parents who might not know as much as them, but then might like kind of throw their agendas, or not agendas, throw their ways of thinking, push their ways of thinking onto the kids. It can be very, very easy, or very, very not easy. It's very difficult, right? Um, so yeah, it's just important to understand that, I guess, and understand that it could be the case that that even at a young age you may have known more than them. Now, North Node in the ninth house in Gemini means that axis of Gemini Sagittarius is what's needed. So sometimes people who have that South Node in Sag, they come into this lifetime, but there's still a need to do the groundwork when it comes to determining what, not like what their beliefs are. Like they can have very strong beliefs, but the question becomes, okay, but have you tested these? Have you tested these? Have you battle proofed these? So um that's important, right? It's important to, yeah, to test your ideas. Or else what good are they? And one thing I mean by that is to, like, with the Sag energy, it's like those are like the grand philosophies that kind of run everything, right? Um, with the with the with the Gemini, with the North Node in Gemini in the ninth house, it's like you're supposed to find that balance between being the journalist, being the one that goes and like truly for themselves collects the information. Um, the journalist, the data person, that kind of thing, metaphorically. Because sometimes people who come into this lifetime with that past life Sag energy, there can be a little bit of dogmatism. Now it's with Pluto, which makes me think that maybe, it's in the third house, that maybe you're like karmically a very powerful communicator, someone who can really like bring people to your side of thought. And I don't mean that in a manipulative way. I'm not really um making any judgment in that sense. But it's definitely powerful. Definitely powerful. Mhm. So when you have Mercury retrograde. It's okay. So now Mars in the 12th house in Virgo. Let's talk about that. So 12th house Mars, it's kind of a interesting placement. So Mars in Virgo, I don't think I to me there's no such thing as a bad placement, but I've definitely seen Mars in Virgo not turn out well. I've seen it turn out well before, but the issue is that it can because Mars is your assertiveness function, and people who have Mars and Virgos, they have to watch out for being, yeah, like once again, just like the Virgo energy, but even more for being like too overly critical of other people and themselves. Example, I know someone, different people with Mars Virgo, sometimes it can feel like they're flow killers. Now, I'm not calling you this at all, but sometimes it can feel like they are flow killers. You're just trying to do your thing, and it really, really, really like makes it's really that deep impetus for one to um do the spiritual work that they need to do, because if they don't, they can very, very easily get stuck in no man's land, I guess. I don't know. In a way of being that isn't so nice. I don't know how else to say it. So yeah, it's definitely something that can be very, very sharp and almost overly observant, like, oh, I noticed you did this thing. I know, oh, like oh, you think that, oh, you think this. um I don't know if you catch what I'm saying, but like it can just it's just like a 12th house Mars too, and people with 12th house Mars oftentimes they, I mean, first of all, I want to say that like a 12th house Mars with the Pisces moon, that's advantageous, but they can most definitely put themselves in positions where they just do shit they regret, like I don't know how else to explain it. Like they just do stuff, and it's like, but when they're really, really being of service and really in their dharma, um it seems like everything is all good. But when they're just kind of living their lives, whatever, it's difficult. So yeah, the camera mode. Um, but like the fact that your Mars and your Sun in the 12th house, it's like really speaking to it's really speaking to like the unconscious realms and deep spirituality and service being like a major part of your life. And if you're able to push it into that way, awesome. But if there's a lot of resistance to that spiritual kind of like divine um road throughout life, then it's not always easy, right? And yeah, like I've just seen, yeah, Virgo Mars as being really, really, really critical of other people. And it always comes from their relationship with themselves. So if that's handled, that's good. So um back to kind of the karmic nodal stuff. Um there's a square with Mars. Um so yeah, and the Mars in the 12th house. So the fact that the South Node's in Sag with Pluto, this makes me think that, in terms of the Mars journey, um, there was like, an overacting, right? Because there's the skip steps to the planets from the node, yeah, the skip steps are the squares to the nodes, right? Um, yeah, I think that a lot of times with like that Mars placement, there's like unresolved karmic anger, um, and just like a misusage, I would say, of the, you know, like either having put too much energy in one area or not enough energy. So you look at the nodes to understand the clues, and when one has Pluto on it, you think, okay, maybe this person has like overacted in a certain area, right? Um, so yeah, like a lot of times people like enter these lifetimes with this, um, and they just feel like this, yeah, this kind of, there can just be this like under, which I don't feel intuitively like you have, like this underpinned kind of anger and but it can just be like past life memories where the will um was tricked in some way, right? Um or a situation which like, excessive dominance in a past life distorted, pushed away the soul's like original life purpose, So, but also one way I really look at this is, we all want to be independent on some respect. So sometimes I feel like this one could, relate to like an unmet need for independence from past lives, and that's trying to be overcome in this life, which led to suppressed anger, of course. Um, and it can be like that whole paradox in relationships where, on one end you want, it's like the grass is green on the other side type stuff, right? Where it's like on one end you want um that relationship, but then on the other end, you don't want to feel held back, right? So it ain't easy being cheesy, as they say. Well, Libra rising is definitely gonna help with, it's the balance. So Libra risings, well, actually having Libra and Pisces in your big three, Libra is the energy that lacks boundaries on like a physical level, and Pisces is the one that lacks boundaries on like a spiritual level. So you really, really have to watch out with boundaries. So that's very, very important. But let's think here. Second. I just think that like, having a Venus ruled chart, yeah, it's really good for human relationships and um for being that person that people feel very drawn to. And I think it gives a lot of versatility, self-starting potential. But people with Libra rising, they do have to get over, that potential of like, I need to make everyone happy. That's just one thing. One little thing. Yeah, so having Mercury retrograde, Libra. Well, actually, let's talk about your ruling planet, Venus and Scorpio. Second house, square Neptune, the ultimate pink cloud placement, and also T square as it squares Jupiter and yeah, Neptune. Wait, hold up. Hold up. That does not make sense. No, it's yeah, but wait, I'm so confused. Oh, I see. Yeah. All right. So, in terms of love, having a second house, Pisces or Scorpio, Venus. Let's start with that. So, the Scorpio Venus, right? It makes relationships very intense. There's sort of this energy of like soulmate or bust for a lot of people with that. Now, it's not always that wild, but they don't want to muck around. They want relationships that work, um, and they want depth in relationships. So sometimes if they have abandonment issues, they can be a little bit I don't know, they can be a little bit like vindictive, manipulative, stuff like that. But really, there can be dramatic, but Scorpio with Venus, I think that the right type of partner for someone like that is someone who I don't want to say that all Venus and Virgo like need to be in those depths, need to be in that like intense drama shit all the time, but like they definitely need to have the ability to go there. You know what I mean? For example, they might not want to have heart to hearts every fucking day, but let's say being a Pisces moon, your emotions are going to swing back and forth. You're a fish. You're in the water. Flowing. Yeah, you're a Virgo, but you're still an emotional person. So when the love language mimics that, you can definitely be you can definitely there's definitely a lot of surrender that's needed. Definitely a lot of surrender. Um to avoid those ego battles in love, and the pain that can come from it. And the fighting back, the vengefulness, right? But at its highest, Venus in Scorpio is transformational love. And because Venus is self-love that gets pushed outward, and it's what you value in yourself, it's learning to value that sensitivity and that intensity and the desire to merge with other and to not push it away. Usually the Venus Scorpio people are quite private people. And they'll have a love language that can be a little bit too intense for some people. So remember, it's not love is never something about like how good someone is or how bad someone is. It's just compatibility. The fact that it squares Neptune is paramount. Well, actually, second house Venus is really good for money. You have to watch out to not be too obsessed with that. But it definitely is also good for self-esteem as well. Now, the fact that it squares Neptune, that speaks to the ultimate. I see this in a lot of my clients, and I always tell them rose-colored glasses in love. Rose-colored glasses in love. Do you have them? I'm not saying you do, but the potential is quite high. And what do I mean by rose-colored glasses in love? I mean, it can sound pretty self-explanatory, but just like the potential for being naive, the potential for being, for kind of just like not seeing things for what they truly are, like kind of like a naive energy, right? So that's kind of that. A lot of people that have Venus square Neptune, they can, especially with a Pisces moon, they really have to watch out for energy vampires or just people who who might not even be that, but who they might create scenarios in their mind. And during that pink cloud period of a relationship, you all like someone who has that aspect, I would always advise them to not make any big statements, even if it feels, because it makes you a very natural romantic, very romantic, right? Especially with the Scorpio Venus. But I would say that imagine how horrible it would be to meet, a partner, a potential partner. You start seeing each other, you're all obsessed, both of you guys, blah, blah, blah. And it feels all new, pink cloud, everything's perfect. You say all these things like, oh, we're going to marry you, blah, 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 and like making all these plans. And then time passes, you spend time together. Maybe you guys like live together or, I don't know, whatever. Like maybe you guys don't even live in the same place and you get to spend like a month together or something like that. And boom, you realize I don't fucking like that person. It's happened to me. Let me tell you, it's happened to me. And I don't even have that. I'm just a Pisces. So I always tell people with that to be very grounded when it comes to their love. Because, just never know what can happen. Energies change between people. Another thing about the Chiron that I didn't really get into is that like a lot of times with that, there's a childhood wound. With this case, it'd be with both parents potentially that leads you to like kind of not shine in life because of that childhood wound. Because it usually hits at that confidence in you. And that's kind of the Chironic journey to heal yourself, and then through healing yourself, you're able to heal others, right? So I just want to throw that in there. The Chiron square sun. But yeah, like with this energy here with Venus Neptune, yeah, it's just like about pushing yourself to be realistic in relationships. Which can be a life. Hey, stop drinking my water. Put your tongue all over my water. Hey, Felix. Yeah, so it's just like not playing the blame game. And yeah, it's just all about realistic expectations, whether it's through a therapist, through a very grounded best friend. I mean, there's a million different ways to go about it. Thanks, go, Faith. So, also with like the Venus and Scorpio, just yeah, I said this before, I'll say it again. Like, understand that not everyone will be able to echo your level of intensity. That's simple. Okay, moving forward. So yeah, Mercury retrograde in the first house, 12th house classes. So that is a very, very, very intuitive placement. Mercury retrograde people have a right brain abstract talent, but sometimes they could struggle with like the everyday stuff, you know, like whether it's like school or whatever. Um, so hold up. So yeah, like I think that like with that energy, there's just a big time importance to big time importance to understand that your career course and the areas of expertise that you might have or the areas of interest that you might have, like if there's something you struggle with, right? Which I'm not saying there is. Virgo is very good at this type of stuff, these types of materials in school, for example. But if there were that, the importance would be to not allow that to bring you shame, you know? Like not allowing that to bring you shame because, there's no good in that. There's no good in that. No, no, no bueno. So I think that yeah, what's important one interesting thing about Mercury retrograde natal is that sometimes the people can be like it can also relate to having like underspoke or overspoke, underthought or overthought, something with their thought processes in past lives that was off, and in this life they're meant to really like kind of go deep into themselves and analyze, okay, like how do I want to be in that sense? So um also sometimes they can really, really, really um they can really project their own like okay, so they can have people from past lives that they're incarnating with in this life, and they can project the past life personalities of those other people um onto them, even though that they like, so let's say that like that you incarnate with your with your brother or sister or whatever in this lifetime. There's that chance that you could like see them as a past life version of themselves, which is really trippy to me. Very, very trippy. But yeah, like overall, Juno with Virgo, or Juno with Mercury, that kind of adds even more of like the lover, energy about around the perfect lover for you, where on some level there needs to be like a very balanced communication, a very nice intellectual connection. Um, Good conversation, good flowing, smooth conversation where because of the retrograde, you're very understood, right? And because of the 12th house energy, you're very understood and not misunderstood because you are so complex. You are like a mystic, with that Pisces moon, and you're a magician. So it could be, it wouldn't be so hard for someone to just completely not get you, which I would take as a compliment because, you know, people be dumb. So yeah, anyways, okay. So North Node in the ninth house, this is your life purpose. This is like, your mission. Ninth house, your Saturn's there. So Saturn in the ninth house, that's cool because that is, after your Saturn return, especially when you're, 29, 30 or 30-ish, when you're over it, you'll definitely feel like a way more serious approach of trying to, like, a big part of your life purpose is studying like universal truth, right? um the three big questions: where do we come from, who are we, where are we going, and obviously that extends to a million other areas, but it's just very important. um Very, very important. Very, very, very important. Okay. So let's see here. So yeah, with a North Node in Gemini in the ninth, once again, it is that balance between like the journalist work, going out in the world, talking to different people from different cultures, or just talking, just like trying on different things, even if you don't agree with them, still trying them on, and then seeing, just being very, very flexible with your opinions, basically. That's very important. So I think that like after 29, you would things would make a lot more sense in that respect. Or things would start to come on board a lot more. Um, Definitely, definitely, definitely. Let's see here. Mhm. So more on like the romantic type energy. When we look at everything, there's definitely like the need to take things slow, as I said before. to understand that not everyone's going to have the same exuberance as you. It's just the way the world is. And with the Neptune square, to really take things slow and analyze them well. Then, understand that as a Scorpio Venus, excuse me, that the mantra really is to take things slow and to just allow things to kind of just happen as they do. And, moving forward from there, the Juno with the, the Libra energy, with the Mercury retrograde, communication could be an issue, but it doesn't have to be. It's just really important to kind of dial it down. And, as a Pisces moon, it's very, very important for you to be someone who's sensitive. And, the fact that the moon squares Chiron, squares Saturn, there can be some pain, some feeling very misunderstood, some difficulty in different areas I've already detailed, which leads to that axis. And if you live a life of service, it literally, for the 12th houser, it literally just changes everything in a good way. Now, I think also at the second house Venus, there's a level of like security that's desired. I just couldn't imagine that not being something very, very important for you. Kind of just having like that secure base within and without. And yeah, so Pluto in the third house with a South Node, you're someone who could be like an amazing communicator. Obviously, like when you're retrograde Mercury, you spend that first 30 years or so trying to think in your head unconsciously, like, okay, how do I want to come across in my communications, so forth, so forth. But then with the Pluto in the third house, you have that potential to be this very, very, very strong communicator. And you also have the potential to be a very, very strong, and that's kind of your destiny, like someone who takes all these different pieces of information. The third house Pluto also, a lot of times karmically, there's someone who's been lied to when it comes to how they've received information, and their idea of truth in past lives has been, it's like someone who believes the mainstream media today, right? Like everything they hear from their school, from mainstream media, etc. It's not going to be easy. So then, Chiron in that sign, Chiron in Capricorn, I think that there can be some pain, and it's in the fourth house. So Chiron in the fourth house usually will speak and be the third house, but like, it definitely could speak to, Mercury retrograde people. Sometimes they have, issues early on, in the early schooling. And Mercury retrograde, like I said, like really, really good at abstract, sometimes not good at the like kind of like the very Capricornian school system. With that said, I know a lot of people with that who are brilliant and who did fine, but it's just a potential and something I see a lot. So Chiron, the fourth house, usually indicates for some kind of pain growing up, but in Placidus it would reflect pain in like with the siblings or pain in like the early environment. in Holstein, what I use primarily, it would be just in the early upbringing. And it kind of makes sense because, as I was saying earlier, it's that pain that has to get to be gotten past for the individual to truly move into their highest potential, you know? So we move here. So first of all, your Mercury, right? Your mind is sextile Jupiter trine Neptune. So that's real nice. And it's also trine the node. So, that's really, really nice. Or trine one node, sextile the other. So, you have a lot of past life communication and thinking gifts, and that's shown by that south node in the third house of Jupiter and Sag, right? So my thing is, like, imagine you come in this lifetime with all these philosophies, these things you just know. I have that shit, right? We're both 28-degree Pisces. Like, I just have known shit my whole life. Don't know how I know it. I just know it. It can be difficult if there is repressed anger that might be around, like the pissed offness that can come from, like, I know this fucking shit and people trying to gaslight me and tell me what I know and what I don't know when I fucking know more than these people, So I feel you on that, if that's your reality or if that's something you've gone through. And the key with the North Node in Gemini is to learn that everyone has their own truth, and that it's not like everyone just arrives at it in the same way, right? So sometimes we have to, you know, sometimes we have to be patient with certain people, and you know how it is. You know how it is. Mm, so damn, I'm going way over time I thought I would. That's whatever. We're close to done. So, oh shit, I forgot to check. He's obsessed with astrology. Listen to his voice message he spent hard and money he had. He wants the heart cold truth. All right. Well, I didn't read that till now. Let me pull up the Squarespace. You want the hardcore truth, don't you, my friend? Fuck my back up last night in my head. No, 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 no. All right, you got the follow up anyways, so we can talk about anything I don't talk about. So we good. All right. So interesting chart. Oh, ooh. All right. Well, you have Mars square Pluto. Ooh la la, ooh la 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 la, bim bam 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 boom bam bam, me mooza. Okay, so that is big time. So it is 0.29 applying. So this is the most volcanic aspect in all of astrology. People who have this, you need to fucking work out. You need to fucking sweat. It makes you feel things so intensely, and it makes your drive, your kind of like, your action kind of Mars, assertiveness function linked to your darkness. It can make it really hard to control emotion. It can make one attract violence. Um, so it's really important to learn to chill the fuck out when you have that. Now, it's good you have a Pisces moon for this. But yeah, it's just like yeah, it's one of those things that people who have that, if they don't understand how to kind of keep their emotions in check, there can be some bad shit. They can be very impulsive. They can just like, set off just like out of nowhere, and there's just no stopping them. Um, cat fight. But yeah, there's just like a big desire for achievement. And sometimes people with this will go like to links and links and links and links and links to get there, right? To get to where they want to get. Sometimes too far. So yeah, it's really like the ultimate aspect of channeling this fiery power into something that is productive. But sometimes people can get stuck in ego battles with this. Um, so yeah, that's a major one. And I would say like kickboxing or boxing or weightlifting or running, whatever, it doesn't matter. Because sometimes people with this can try so much to assert dominance on people around them. And it can, yeah, like I said, it can be aggressive, but there can also be like that what I was talking about earlier, that bottled up anger from past lives, right? Um, so like of course this energy can be like the best is to like avoiding like temper tantrums, I guess. It's to like use this intense energy towards your highest ambitions. Um, and it gives one like tons of determination, strong work ethic, but there is that potential for aggression. But like in a chart like yours, which is to me very peaceful, I don't know. I could see it just being like a nice little like edginess on top of things. That's just my 2 cents. And then yeah, having Mercury trine Neptune, that just gives one like amazing imagination, really good for writing, really good for anything, speaking and like painting pictures, storytelling, all that stuff, writing. And then Jupiter sextile, that just makes one, more philosophical and able to see the big picture with their minds. That's good to have those two. Um, so I don't really think Venus square Jupiter is a bad aspect. I just think you have to watch out for being extra, kind of like overly extravagant. But overall, there's two amazing planets meeting together. It's great. What else can I say about Venus square Neptune? Yeah, it's just that unrealism when it comes to personal relationships, and how some people with that can also like kind of feel bad for themselves, play victim. I'm never gonna find love. I'm never gonna find love. And they can give up way too early. There can be like lots of shame around that because of unrealistic expectations or just self-sabotage, unconscious self-sabotage. All right. Let's see now. So let's fill out everything. So yeah, I think the more time you spend, whether it's you being like a doctor or like not just doctor, but someone who works in like kind of like a hidden part of society that really is like for the good of society, that's great. Um, Jupiter in the 11th, that's really good for friends. That's super good for popularity and having Beth in there And Leo makes you like someone who could be very entrepreneurial, but also work really, really good with other people as well for common goals, you know. But Jupiter 11th house is like one of the, it's very, very good for, it's good for wealth too. It's good for like for purpose and for your big picture purpose. So um you know, the moon rules your midheaven, so um Mika. So yeah, it could be, you know, the Pisces moon in the sixth house. I don't know, like it's 25 degrees Cancer, which, you know, that end of Cancer can be looked at as real estate, or it can be looked at as doing something that makes people, you know, brings people to ease emotionally, which can be so many different things. You know, it could be therapy, healing in some sort, astrology, or it could be something like, you know, restaurant, real estate. I don't know. Saturn ninth house, as I said, you know, it will first 29 and a half years or so. It doesn't have to be like that. It can kind of make one feel restricted in exploring that, you know, physically traveling, exploring, you know, the metaphorically traveling, exploring the meaning of life, but then later on they can have this real, very serious energy towards those very things and go into them very, very well. Um, mhm. Wow, so your part of fortune is Brian, your descendant in Aries, so that just speaks to like how you know just really, really good fortune around relationships for you, and they're just going to feature and be this kind of flow state in your life, like when you're in a very independent relationship that's still very close, but like you still are retaining your own personality. That's really, really, really good. So Black Moon Lilith and Ceres in the seventh. So Black Moon Lilith and Aries in the seventh, to me that's just like you at your lowest potential. There's the potential for, and Eris is also conjunct, not Ceres. Eris is conjunct the descendant, so that could be someone who, um, you know, very volcanic in relationships potentially. And then Black Moon Lilith in the seventh in Aries could be someone who, um, you know, isn't willing to compromise in relationships potentially. Um, is too obsessed with independence, or maybe there's like, you know, a combativity or immaturity that comes out in those when you're at your lowest energy, I guess. It's not like it's not a planet, right? But then Ceres and Aries in the seventh, you know, that makes one very loving towards their partner, right? Um, and you know, there is that potential there for becoming codependent on your partner. But then the Ceres and Aries makes you really feel cared for, make you feel good when you are, you know, given independence, right? So it could be very much that your relationship energy is like a part of you like wants to, you know, be very, very close emotionally, but then also retain your independence and your space. Like like me, like I don't sleep with my girlfriend. Like we have our different bedrooms. Like I can't sleep with people. I like my own space. You know, you create your own rules to your life at the end of the day, you know? And the idea of feeling caged in would most likely be very difficult for you. Um, yeah. I think like a sixth house moon person, it just makes it so like, you know, whether it's the intellectual, emotional, or physical, spiritual, whatever, all the O's, health becomes like a big focus of your life. Um, and you know, and it takes on kind of a daily commitment, like it whatever one or ones, like they become like a, you know, it's very, very key to your emotional well-being to like be very in tune with that. So then Uranus, Neptune in the fifth, that's the classic like being able to really create through your intuition. You know, Uranus in the fifth house, you're able to, you know, just start doing whatever creative whatever creative act you're doing and just like have downloads. You're like, holy shit, where'd that come from? And it's kind of the same with Neptune, you know? Um, so yeah. And it can give like very, very interesting children to have these too. Um, and then yeah, Palace and Aquarius, I say that with a lot of my clients, is just like really able to think ahead, think outside the box, fight for what you believe in humanitarian wise, and get ideas very, very quickly. And fifth house, apply them to creativity and art. Anything like it make you like artistically talented and yeah, just creative and enjoy enjoy being around children. So mhm. So yeah. Um, so overall we have more to talk about. Um, well, I've given you the lowdown on everything. It's an interesting chart for sure. Um, it'll be interesting. So definitely add if you're able to. I'll give you a price reduction down to 270. That's a lot less than I've been giving people lately for the current astrology. So let me know if you're able to do that. But basically, you know, instead of just like you already have the hour follow up, but you'd be able to get the hour follow up plus hour 2 and hour 3 as long as it goes. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less. Where we go over all the current transits and get you equipped for the year ahead. So do let me know, and let's see if I have any last reflections. Yeah, I mean, look, man, like as a Virgo Pisces, 28 degrees, that is the last degree before 29 degrees, and 29 degrees is obviously like difficult. So I'm a 20, yeah, I told you I'm a 28-degree Pisces, so like that's cool that we both have that in common. So I'm sure we would get along really, really well. So I look forward to talking to you. When you watch this, yeah, let me know about setting that up. It's not like a long waiting time or anything like this one was. It's just like whenever my next schedule is my next appointment on my schedule is available. Um, but yeah, let me know. Um, and yeah, we can dig further into this when the time comes. But to me, it's a chart that's very spread out, lots of different ideas. It'll be very interesting to talk to you live to sift through it some more, your lived experience. So remember what I told you about adding the current astrology. Um, unless it's a financial thing, of course, zero pressure in that case. Especially if you're a college student, which you're 20, yeah, or just like recently graduated, money's tight. I'm not a money guy. Like I'm never someone who would ever feel okay pressuring someone about money. But you already have you know, the follow up. So yeah, thank you, sir, and talk to you later. My longest reading in a minute. All right, ciao.